I have an issue that I'd like to bring forth to the city, and that is the intersection of Union and Summit. It's a very dangerous intersection because of the railroad bridge. I had an accident there about 2.5 weeks ago, and well, it's been about 3 weeks now, and totaled out my car because there was a boat and an SUV parked facing north at that just beyond the intersection, blocking the view, and I couldn't see. I could see everything coming from the other way, and the only reason that I moved forward was because there was another car coming up Summit from the west, and they had the same problem with the cars going by, but they didn't have the blockage of the view. And when they started across, I started across, and I got T-boned. And I have photographs if you would like to see. I showed them with Mr. How do you pronounce it?
Kwame is how you say it.
Kwame.
Yeah.
And I've gotten information from the police department that there's been 7 accidents there in 3 years. And mine is the 3rd injury accident. So I think my request is that the city put a no parking signs from there to the top of the bridge on each side so that people's view is not blocked.
Okay.
And if anybody would like to see the photos with the vehicle blocking, I've got them right here.
Sir, maybe it'd be a good idea if you would send those to Lynn, and then Lynn can circulate them to the entire council so that we all can see the same photos.
You'd rather have it that way?
I think that might be the best way, so we all have access to them in the
Okay.
same manner. And Lynn can make sure and get you the information how to get those to her.
Okay,
I'll give you a call tomorrow. We'll connect.
okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lillis.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I would actually agree with the gentleman that people park, particularly when they put a trailer or a boat on behind, it does make that junction because it narrows. So I think it's something that we should take serious and look at it.
Thanks. Anyone else? If not, we'll have this advisement to
And
staff.
I'd like to say one other thing.
Please do.
Maybe you could have the police monitor speed there too, because they come over that bridge, and sometimes they're doing 40 miles an hour or more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we have about 5 minutes before the council meeting will start. Good evening, everyone. I'd ask that you would please rise as Gretchen Enoch of First Lutheran Church will lead us in an invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you for the opportunity to lead you in prayer this night. I'm going to begin with a reading from the book of Daniel, one verse, chapter 12, verse 3. Those who are wise will shine as bright as the sky, and those who lead many to righteousness will shine like the stars forever. The Lord be with you. Gracious God, we come to you this night amidst the brilliance of the sunshine and the beauty of this place that we call Fergus Falls. We thank you for the wise and courageous leaders of this community and ask that this night they may be infused with your spirit to make wise and courageous decisions. Bless all who serve for the good of this community, that we may represent this community in love and action and service. To you, God, we give all the glory. As God's people, let us boldly say together, Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. It is 5:30, August 19th, 2019, and I will call this meeting of the Fergus Falls City Council to order. Roll call, please. Here.
Here.
Anderson is absent. Hess?
Here.
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 We have a quorum. First item of business this evening is the approval of the agenda, and I'll call on City Administrator Andrew Bremseth. Are there any additions or changes?
Your Honor, members, nothing to change this evening.
Hearing no changes, I would look for a motion to
I'll offer
accept
that, Your
the
Honor.
agenda as presented. Thank you, Jim. Second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Krista. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. There are no public hearings this evening. There are no bids to award, and there are no petitions and communications. So we'll move right along to the consent agenda. There's a copy in your packet. Lynn's also put a copy on the board. There's 6 items. If anyone would like to talk about any of those items individually, we can do that. If not, I would entertain a resolution approving the consent agenda.
I'll make that.
Thank you, Brent.
Second that, Your Honor.
Thank you, Tom. Roll call.
Rupert.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. There are no ordinance or resolutions this evening. Tonight, we have claims in the amount of $2,394,967.13. If there's any questions, I will direct them to City Administrator. Hearing none. Someone like to offer a resolution?
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Resolution, thank you, Anthony.
Resolution.
I'll
Caroline?
second it.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Rupert.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. This evening, we have under reports from staff and administrative officers, we have 2 positions to announce. And so I'll call on our city administrator, Andrew Bremseth. I think you wanted to do number 2 first.
I do, yes. Thank you, Your Honor, members. I'm going to start with the library position. It is my distinct honor this evening to make a recommendation on this position to replace Aaron Smith as our library director. There's a memo on each of your desks this evening. I will say that we had a very good candidate pool for this position. We had a nice panel of interviewers. We had representation from the library board, the library foundation, Friends of the Library, library staff, and also the human resources director and myself were involved. After hearing 4 candidates, all who were very qualified and very professional and would do a great job, we unanimously selected Gail Hedstrom as our preferred candidate. And so this evening, I'm making the recommendation to the City Council to appoint Ms. Hedstrom as the next director of the Fergus Falls Public Library. Gail has worked as the library director of the Thorson Memorial Library in Elbow Lake for the past 24 years, which is also a Viking Library System member, as is the Fergus Falls Public Library. She brings a very professional resume and displays a very evident passion for library services. Gail is poised to be successful in developing strong working relationships with the Friends of the Library, the Library Board, the Library Foundation, as well as providing great collaborative leadership to the existing library staff. Gail has a strong desire to be involved in the community, and I feel she'll jump right in and make an immediate impact. I'm excited for Gail's leadership and expertise as we define how our new library can and will work best for our residents in the coming years. So this evening, I'm making a strong recommendation that the council approves a resolution authorizing the appointment of Gail Hedstrom as the next library director. And after that, I would tell you all that she may be in the room this evening, and I may invite her up to speak, but I'll see how the council wants to proceed first.
Let's take the vote first. Would anyone like to make the resolution to accept?
I'll offer that.
Thank you from the person.
I would second it, Your Honor.
Thank you. Jim, any questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Rupert.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Fish.
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes.
That resolution is approved. Now it's safe to call her up.
All right. Gail, if
Gail,
you
would
wouldn't
you like to
mind
say a
introducing
few
yourself.
Thank you so much for this honor of being selected to be the director of the public library in Elbow Lake. Excuse me, in Fergus Falls. That might be a slip for a while. It's good to be home. I grew up in Fergus Falls. My family continues to live here, and so it is wonderful to be back home. I look forward to working with the staff in Fergus Falls. I know what they're capable of. I know how intelligent and hardworking they are. I'll continue to work with Erin as she leads the helm at Viking Library System. And I look forward to working with the council and the other department heads. I know there's just great things ahead for Fergus Falls, and I'm honored to be a part of that. So thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Welcome. All right, then the next item would be resolution authorizing the appointment of a community development director. Again, I'll call on City Administrator Andrew Brumsath.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor members. It's not often that we get to add great staff members, multiple at a time. I will say on this particular position, we did have additional discussion with our department head team and the personnel committee, and we ultimately, in evaluating what that looks like, we decided that it should be more of a manager level position than a department head level position. So I don't actually need council action this evening, but I did want to share with you all that we have hired Clara Beck to become the community development manager. That position will report directly to myself and will lead the community development department. And very excited about Clara. She is going to be starting with us on September 3rd. She's currently the executive director of the Cadets Gallery and has experience related to a few startup companies that she's involved in and a lot of community engagement, which I think is going to be key to having this position be successful. So just wanted to announce that hiring as well this evening. And it won't be a department head level position, but she will be a key member of our team here at City Hall and throughout the city, and I think she's going to bring a lot of value to us over the coming years. So just wanted to make you all aware of that. And she, like I said, she'll be starting here in about 2 weeks.
Great, thank you, Andrew. We don't need any action on that, but are there any questions? Scott?
It's a full-time position, Andrew?
Your Honor, Councilmember Comey, yes, it is.
Any other questions?
Do we have a start date for Gail as well?
Yes, Your Honor, Councilmember Hicks, I believe Gail is planning to start on September 16th. I hope I got that right. I got too many dates in my head.
Thank you.
Great. Anything else? All right, thank you, Andrew. Under old and unfinished business, we'll move along. Item number 1 is a discussion on the rental registration, and I will call on our City Administrator, Andrew Brumsath.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Members, switching gears a little bit here, this is certainly more of a out of my wheelhouse, but an important issue nonetheless. As I mentioned at the last City Council meeting 2 weeks ago, staff wanted to have time to sit down and talk about the proposed changes to the rental registration ordinance and potentially come back with what we would view as a compromise related to that. We've had a lot of feedback from various individuals, both in support of and opposed to the ordinance over the last couple of weeks. And we had a chance to sit down with officials from the building department, the fire department, administration, city attorney, and also talking with the chief here. And the following are the recommendations that we have. And what I want to do is just walk through them or read them. And then what I'm asking the council to do this evening is to direct the city attorney to draft an ordinance that would incorporate these changes. And then the council could bring that back to another meeting to make or to consider that and also allow people to provide input at that time. I don't think that we want to get bogged down in all these details at this point in time unless the council objects and doesn't want to move in this direction. But just walking through the changes as all of the departments see as an appropriate compromise, we're recommending that instead of a license issued by the city council, which was proposed in the ordinance that we were talking about during the public hearing a few weeks ago, that all units will continue to be registered by the city administrator's office. So essentially doing a registration rather than a license. Going forward, all rental units will need a required inspection prior to getting their rental registration. However, units that are registered as a standard rental unit on November 15th, 2018 would be exempt from mandatory inspection unless or until one of these events takes place. So essentially, these units that are standard practice today would be grandfathered in and not required to move towards the mandatory inspection if they were registered as a standard rental unit on November 15th. And that is to prohibit units who aren't in the standard from quickly moving into the standard. So would be exempt until a call for service to the unit regarding a life safety issue, and the unit then fails an inspection. Would be an exempt until the unit fails an inspection based on a complaint-generated inspection for code violations, so our code enforcement department. The unit fails an inspection based on a complaint generated from a tenant or a neighbor. Or finally, the unit is visibly in need of substantial repair based upon complaint or observation. Once a unit that was previously exempt under these rules from a mandatory inspection fails a complaint-generated inspection, the unit must then comply with the mandatory inspection and registration requirements set out in the ordinance from that day forward. If a unit is exempt and is sold or transferred, that would trigger that unit from going into the required inspections rather than being in the standard practice. Any unit that is receiving tax abatement, tax increment financing, public assistance, or any other form of public subsidy shall be required to be inspected under the mandatory inspection ordinance and would not be grandfathered in. The city makes the commitment to work with the HRA to ensure that inspections are done simultaneously on inspection years, so we're minimizing intrusion to tenants. We have done inspections at the same time as HRA previously and would make it a point to do that going forward as well. Units who meet the inspection standard with no deficiency noted and have received the highest rating would be eligible for self-inspection during the next inspection cycle. So essentially, the units that are really in good shape, that have been well taken care of, would be allowed to do their own inspection through a checklist that's issued by the city rather than having a city inspector come out and do that. At no time would a unit be allowed to go more than 6 years without a city-led inspection to ensure those life safety issues are addressed. All units that remain exempt shall continue to pay the standard practice fee, which is the higher fee. And then just wanted to make it clear that we're not asking folks to require written leases and crime-free lease addendums or requiring landlords to take applications on tenants, but we would certainly encourage that and feel like that's good practice. And then finally, the ordinance that we were talking about previously had contemplated civil penalties for violations. We're asking that those be removed, and we'd continue to deal with violations through citations. That process has been effective thus far. So that is what staff has come up with. I feel like if somebody's in the standard program today and they're taking good care of their units and the tenants are happy, they will continue to be in that way. If we generate complaints based on the condition of the units or concerns, or we find life safety issues through other means, we would need those units then to transfer towards that required inspection, which is ultimately my understanding of what the city council wants to do is ensure that units that are in tough shape are repaired, and that we're looking out for tenants that may be forced to be in those conditions. So as I mentioned on the outset, my thought was that if this is a good direction or something that the city council thinks is a good direction, that we would direct the city attorney to draft the ordinance with these provisions involved and or removed, and bring that back for future consideration and allow the public an opportunity to view that and comment on it.
Thank you, Andrew. Questions from the council? Does this sound like a reasonable process to have the city administrator draft these into an ordinance and then give the public an opportunity to view that and comment that, and we can take up the discussion?
Do we have a proposed timeline?
Sure.
When do you want it?
It can be on the next agenda if you would like.
I think that would be fine. I think we don't want to drag the process on any longer. So I think and could we put the draft ordinance up on the website so that anybody that's a potential landlord can see it before the.
This will be available for anyone tonight.
Yep.
And then the draft ordinance would be in the packet the Thursday prior to the
Right.
council meeting 2 weeks from last Thursday.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I'll say I mistakenly sent the wrong version to Lynn for the packet. So if somebody is here tonight and wants this, I will make copies and provide those before we leave this evening. Otherwise, we'll have the
It's a
new
shorter
version
version.
on the website.
Yeah, that's not the exact version that was in the packet, so you can get that.
Your Honor, I will offer the motion to have the city attorney draft the amended rental registration ordinance.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Brent. Any further discussion? Scott?
Yeah, I've got a few comments I guess I'd like to make. Just in general, I'm not in favor of this whole rental registration project just from the beginning. I think it's an overly intrusive thing for the city to be involved in and essentially single out rental properties for inspection over any other privately owned property. I don't understand the rationale. I don't understand the logic there. I think that if we're so concerned about ensuring life safety issues that we have to go and inspect every apartment in town, then why aren't we inspecting every house in town and everything else? And I don't see us doing that, and I'm not suggesting that we do that. I think that this is just going a little too far. I think it raises the costs. It raises the hassle for landlords to have to deal with these issues, and I think it's unreasonably intrusive. Got a father-in-law, 90 years old, Korean War veteran. He's sold his home and moves into an apartment. Now to have to deal with this inspection stuff, for example. I just don't see why the city has to be in that transaction. If he wants to go and rent an apartment from somebody, they can make their deal and have their arrangement. If there is a problem with the unit, that is some kind of a problem, leaky pipes or leaky roof or something like that, there's already laws and ordinances on the books to handle those things. Tenants have got the rights to go and have their rent paid and held while the landlord has to take care of things. I mean, there are ways that, and there are already ordinances and laws on the books for these things. And I think that this is adding a layer of trouble to a situation that doesn't need it.
Thanks, Scott. Any other questions, comments before we vote? All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
That motion carries. So we'll have a chance to discuss that 2 weeks from tonight with the amended ordinance when it's in ordinance form. Let's see. Don't believe there's any other old business. There is no new business this evening, so just a couple quick announcements. August 21st is the City Council retreat, 8 a.m. Committee of the Whole meeting, August 28th. Labor Day's Monday, September 2nd. City Hall will be closed. No council meeting. Council meeting will be held Tuesday, September 3rd. So I guess that's 2 weeks from tomorrow night is when the meeting is. Sorry, I should clarify that. 3rd of September. And with that, if there's any other announcements, anything to come before the council?
There'll be no garbage that day, I suppose.
Right, right. So garbage will be moved up a day, or back a day, I should say. All right, with that, we're adjourned.
Thank you, Mayor.